Nope, it's not my cup. It's his cup.
What's that?
Got the Navy retired cup.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Start with the story on where when you first got in, you didn't meet the weight requirement. So then, fast forward to that time you were in Japan.
Well, basically, I needed a 10 pounds waiver to join the Navy, and I made it by 2 pounds.
I remember you eating like banana pills, and you were eating bananas and
My recruiter
cookies
fed
and
me everything that he could think of under the sun. From the day that I said, when he found out that I passed the ASVAB, and he got me on the scale, and that's starting at that point to the time that I went to MEPS. That guy was just feeding me. He just feed me and feed me and feed me to make sure that I'm not gonna, I make the line. And actually, the morning that he took me to MEPS, we stopped. I can't remember what. It was Kettles. Yeah, we stopped at Kettles, and he made me eat this big, humongous steak. I couldn't even eat a quarter of it. But he's like, oh, eat it. So I shove it down, And then after that, he's trying to get me to eat some more bananas. I'm like, oh my God. But, and of course I came in there and they like, all right, we gotta run a waiver for you. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then of course they came back and they said, yeah, you're just right in there,
so even with all that weight, they still had to run a waiver on you?
Yeah, they still had to run the waiver on me. Of course, I was underweight. I mean, and I wasn't that tall, but for some reason, with my height at that time, I was just way underweight. So, and for me to actually fully pass to be able to go to boot camp was they had that dumbbell there, and I think at the time, it was like either 50 or 60 pounds. And he's like, can you pick it up? And I'm like, yeah. So I went over and pushed it over my head, and they're like, okay, we don't need it anymore. So I guess they just want to make sure I'm physically fit to do physical work. So, but then went through boot camp, everything's fine. Got to my command. Everything's going normal like it's supposed to. I'm all good and happy. And well, when I got to Japan, when I report onto the NOx, the CO checked me in, and when I went checked in to see the CO, and he's like, Boats, you don't look healthy. And I'm like, sir, I'm healthy. I'm just skinny.
And this is like your second enlistment, right?
This is my second enlistment, my second command, yeah. And I already had BM3, and so he's like, well, I'm gonna have the doc look at you. So I'm like, yeah, yes sir, whatever. So I went and check-in process and everything, and we went somewhere for a few weeks. And then when we came back to Japan, we had that long period of time in Japan, upkeep. So I was TAD over to, I was sent over to the hospital. I went over there, and I have no idea what the report was said on the reports about me, but I went over there and I see the doctor, and he read the reports and what have you, and he said, okay, we're going to TAD you here for a few months. And I'm like, for what? And they're like, well, we're going to find out why, you're skinny. I'm like, okay, no big deal. I get out of work. So, yeah, basically, I live in the hospital. I don't go back to my shift. I don't, and I'm not doing any kind of work in the hospital because they quote unquote TAD me, but I'm just there for them. I'm like a guinea pig actually. And I have to eat. It's one of these things. I gotta eat 3 times a day. Like they ordered. I gotta give them blood samples and various samples whenever they require me to.
So was the NOx deploying at this time, or
no,
were they
NOx
just
was in port?
Okay.
Yeah, we was going to do upkeeps for like 3-4 months. So,
okay.
Yeah, so this normally these are the times that they send the sailors to do the physical or go to schools or whatever,
So it's
when-
downtime for the
yeah,
non
it's downtown. So I'm there, and I'm doing my thing. And actually, if I remember correctly, they gave me this card. I call it a credit card, and I could go eat anywhere on base, and the hospital would pay for it, and they would encourage me to go eat, and that's all I could use that card for was food, So I did, and then I'm just enjoying my time.
So you go sightseeing and stuff around Japan?
Well, yeah, I do, but I can't use the card for that.
No, I mean, but as far as your free time.
Not really, because technically I'm still a TAD. To the
Oh, so
hospital.
you're quote unquote working.
Yeah, working. I still gotta maintain the hospital hours.
Right.
Yeah, I do. I mean, sometimes they got me helping, cleaning the grounds of the hospital or whatever, something for me to do.
Right.
But not, because they can't just let me sit around and doing absolutely nothing.
Right.
So, yeah, but I get the regular hours just like everybody else, 9 to 5, so it's a decent hour. And yeah, I do go out on weekends. I get weekends off, so I go out and travel around and stuff like that, But the thing is, the thing is, after 2 months I was there, the doctor finally called me in and talked to me, So I came in and he looks and he's like, I got your reports, and I'm like, so what's wrong with me? And he's like, the problem with you is you wasting our money. There's nothing wrong with you. I gained 1 pound in 2 months, and they must have fed me, over thousands of dollars worth of food, and the medical, and then the checkup and then testing labs and whatever, So I told him, I said, I told my shift that, if the Navy wouldn't let me in if, unless I meet the requirement. Everybody knew I needed a waiver, a skinny waiver to get in the Navy, and so if they send me in, I'm go here, doesn't matter. And then, so I went back to the ship,
We don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, and actually there's nothing wrong with me. It's in my blood. I can't gain weight.
Yeah.
Even now I'm 50-something and I'm only weighing 130 pounds. So, and actually what made it worse really was, I remember I went to boot camp. I was 5'2", and I think I weighed in at 79 pounds.
Good Lord.
Right? And I think at the time I have to be 85 pounds, So I went up there, and I think after the recruiter fed me and everything, I got up to about 80 pounds, So I still have to have the waiver, right? So they gave me the waiver, right, to get in. Well, went into boot camp, came out of boot camp. I have no idea what they did to me, which they didn't do anything to me. But I went from 5'2" to 5'7". But I'm still weighing less than 90 pounds. so it just made things worse, But, I'm healthy. There's nothing wrong with me. And they proved that now, And the doctor said your metabolism, is still racing while you sleep. They're like, well, I knew that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, maybe they're taking your blood to make some kind of biological weapon, make people skinny.
Well, I was hoping that they would take my blood and figure out some way to make money.
Yeah.
Because I could market that and I'll be billionaires by now. How many people out there wish they could, lose a pound or two here and there, And
You're probably one of the few people I know who had to get a waiver for being underweight. Mostly it's fat boy waivers.
Yeah. Well, just like the PRTs, right? Every 6 months we do the PRT, so they go in, they do the measurement,
Mm-hmm.
And all my buddies, they all worry, oh man, I'm going to be, over 20% or whatever, 22% body fat, right? So we're trying to keep under that. I go in and I do my measurement, and they're like, Boat, you're negative 2%. I'm like, okay, whatever. So,
Here, go eat some pork rinds or something.
Yeah. You know. And so I'm used to it now. You know, it's just.
All right, cool. All right, we'll come back for more later.